I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
We'll be talking about unity, the first theme of the 11 days of global unity. For the full 11-day schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org. That's the numeral 11. There you will find access to all the 11 days broadcast. You can also visit we.net to take action with the 11 campaigns, subscribe to Trends Magazine, and you can support this global work by contributing at we.net/donate. A heartfelt thank you to all of you who make this possible. Before we bring on our speakers, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of our incredible partners who we support and collaborate with during the 11 days of global unity and throughout the year. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the Unite for Peace Coalition, including Unity Earth, the Sign Network, One World, and Hubcast Media, the Awakening World, We the World, May Peace Prevail on Earth International, United Religions Initiative, Pathways to Peace, Global Silent Minute, Children of the Earth, Climate Week, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Good News Broadcast in Times Square, and Pace e Bene Nonviolence campaign. Together, these groups represent millions of people working to achieve global unity and peace. This movement is a living example of what becomes possible when we act from interdependence, compassion, and shared purpose, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. So welcome everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. Let's bring in our host, Tahsin Khaled Bashar. Tahsin Khaled Bashar is a passionate advocate for economic justice and public health and social equity. As a research lead with We the World, he works to advance sustainable solutions that address systematic inequalities. With a background in medicine and current studies in epidemiology and public health, Tahsin bridges health and economic empowerment through research, advocacy, and community action. He's deeply committed to collaborative efforts that foster dignity, inclusion, and a more just world. Thank you, Tahsin.
Thank you all for joining us. Welcome to annual 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. My name is Tahsin Khaled Bashar. I'm a research lead at We the World. In today's panel, we are discussing unity, and I'm excited that we will be joined by our extraordinary guest, Sohana Khan. Hi, Sohana.
Hello, hi, Tahsin.
So, all right, before we dive any further, I would like to give a brief background on International Unity Day, celebrated every year on 11th September as part of the 11 Days of Global Unity. Through our activities under the Unity umbrella, we strive to co-create an equitable future together, to promote solidarity and the recognition of people's commonality by commemorating dates of significance, such as the anniversary of September 11, 2001, a calamity in the history of the United States that had global geopolitical repercussions and that also led to an international response promoting global unity. We further hope to contribute towards strengthening interfaith dialogue and understanding, working to end racism and intolerance, encouraging healing and reconciliation, using nonviolent forms of communication to promote solidarity and to prevent conflict, increasing cooperation and coordination between local and regional grassroots organizations, developing global partnerships, and building coalitions as part of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG number 17, and finally carrying out other kinds of programs to achieve community goals. In today's panel, we will be focusing on cultural exchange, dialogue across cultures, and our role as activists in contributing towards the global tapestry of unity by nurturing collaboration and amity. Now, I would like to request Birgit Ben-Eli to introduce our guest, Ms. Sohana Khan.
It is my great pleasure to introduce Sohana Khan, an architectural designer researcher whose work beautifully demonstrates how architecture can serve as a force for dignity and inclusion and resilience. Sohana is currently with Article 25, a UK-based humanitarian architecture NGO, where she applies her expertise to projects that uplift, marginalized communities through sustainable and community-driven design. She holds a Master of Architecture from London South Bank University and a Bachelor of Architecture from Brock University, building on more than 8 years of practice across Bangladesh and the UK. Her recent thesis, The Skill Development in Hub Southwark, London, explored how modular and adaptable design can create inclusive spaces for reskilling, cultural exchange, and social resilience. It reflects a larger vision, it reflects her larger vision, using architecture not only to construct buildings, but to empower communities, foster dialogue, and advance sustainable development. Beyond her design practice, Sohana is deeply engaged in global policy, women and youth leadership, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals, reminding us that architecture is not just about structures, it is about people and about building a more just and connected world. Thank you so much and welcome, Sohana.
Welcome, Sohana. So one thing that's really caught my attention about your resume is your current role. So I myself from a background of medicine and public health, and in our field, people, very frequently go towards humanitarian activities. But I've never, much heard before about humanitarian architectural activists. So would you mind elaborating on your current role?
Thank you, Birgit and Tahsin, and thank you to we.net for creating this space for urgent global dialogue. I will start with a question. How is it that two communities living side by side in a same city, one of full rest neighborhoods and the other surviving, breathing and building in informal settlements, feels worlds apart? So I grew up in Bangladesh, one of the most climate vulnerable nations in the world, but it also one of the most resilient. I graduated from Brack University and I did my master's from London South Bank University. From Bangladesh to London, this journey was anything but easy. Living between these worlds taught me that unity is not about informality, but about weaving together differences into strength. Currently, as I'm working as a humanitarian architect in in Article 25, focusing on a healthcare project globally, resources are very limited. This is where we use healing and dignity as an architectural tool. In 2018, my journey as a humanitarian architect started in a refugee camp in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, where I saw that limited resources, language barrier, climate vulnerability, safety, hygiene issues. Also, on the other hand, I saw something else: hope, unity, and community. After that, I worked with community in many aspects. I did workshop, volunteer projects, competitions, projects that help to create a safe place for future, not only in Bangladesh, but in UK as well. So I have learned resilience, low-cost solutions, new contextualism from Bangladesh, which I have applied in my UK projects. On the other hand, I got very good exposure from UK about modular design, social justice, which helped me on my research about embracing marginalized community. Currently, I'm doing a research on marginalized community in Korail, Dhaka, Bangladesh. If I talk more about unity, cultural exchange, and humanitarian architecture, I would like to mention my adventure with strangers in different aspects. I do a lot of traveling and solo traveling, so where I can meet different people from different culture, different background. So in Spiti Valley, India, during my bachelor's, where I met amazing people from different background, and I spent 10 days without any internet, no network. And that experience changed my perspectives, and my views got shaped towards how we see others, how social media or any social platform can unite people together and the more you talk about awareness and unity, the more we can connect and create a better future. Real empathy happens when we eat, work, live together. It is all about cultural exchange and acknowledging our problems and coming up with solutions. Architecture creates physical spaces for cultural exchange, but unity requires us to create emotional space for trust and belonging. Nowadays, we are very aware. I personally believe, as a young architect, I advocate not only built environment, but also space that are safe and secure for future generation. The younger generation doesn't only want to build career, we want to build futures where unity and justice are possible. So if I really want to make change and take action, I would like to say unity cannot stay in conference. It must leave the screen and enter our neighborhoods, our workplaces, our design, and our classrooms. I would like to encourage small daily actions, talk to people from different culture, different background, question diverse narratives, discuss about cultural exchange, join cross-cultural initiative, support humanitarian design, NGOs. As an architect, as you mentioned, humanitarian architect, my call to action is this: let us design for humanity, not just for function. Let us create space where diversity is not tolerated, but celebrated. So I started with a question: how it is that two communities living side by side in a same city feels worldly apart? So if I answer my question, this question has followed me since Dhaka between Gulshan and Coral. It was my view during my studies in bachelor's in Brack University. I saw that diverse culture, diversity by one water body, but in reality, both were drastically apart. So it became the heart of my research, my practice, my belief that architecture must bridge, not divide. So, yeah, that's how I began my journey as a humanitarian architect.
Thank you, Sohana. Whatever you said shows the true core of an activist, not just an architectural activist, but humanitarian activist in general. I'm really much interested to know and curious about your nonprofit organization, Article 25. Could you basically tell us what are your goals at that organization? What are the goals of the organization?
So basically, as I joined Article 25, we work for projects which are mostly funded and which projects are for underprivileged people. We design and we not build, we design being the structures, spaces, and community for orphan kids. As you can go through our profile, we have many projects in Tanzania and Africa and Myanmar, India, Nepal, a lot of places where they really need those spaces. And this is how we connect communities together. We are not only building for privileged people, we are building for underprivileged people who basically need it the most.
So when we're talking about architecture, there is there are some connotations that comes with architecture. So architecture has culture ingrained inside it. When we're talking about the architecture of East Asia, we we just think about the roofs, the archetypal roofs of Oriental Asia. Similarly, the architecture in the Middle East could be different, or probably in the West, in Europe and the United States could be different. How do you think the interplay and the interaction between different cultures could potentially benefit and help towards the progress of your field?
Yeah, thank you for that amazing question. So we are still figuring it out. because as we had an era, we called in our architecture time, modern architecture, we had an era where we used to celebrate architecture, like huge architecture. Now, in this time, we need architecture which is connected by community, because as you design in Bangladesh, UK, Dubai, US, anywhere, it's basically for the community. So you have to keep in mind that the community, people who are using it, are they getting benefited by that? So architecture is not just the structure, it's about the environment, the creating spaces, the environment we are giving to people, the safety net, I would say.
All right, so what I can conclude is that your activities and career has been totally international and has revolved around cultural exchange so far. So do you have any personal experience of a very specific cultural exchange program that you attended, or maybe any event, or maybe some cultural exchange, program that you have earmarked to attend in the future? Could you share about it?
Yeah, I have a very good personal experience with architect Yasmin Lari Madam. She is the first female architect in Pakistan and world-known architect for humanitarian architecture. So I was working with her in 2022-23. So that project was all about women empowerment and how 6 women can build a whole structure, a house, a kitchen, and a toilet in 3 days with modular prototypes. So with pen and paper, we started it, and then we built the whole structure in London. After that, we dismantled the whole structure and permanently rebuilt it in Highgrove Garden, which is the house of King Charles now. So in that program, it was amazing. My experience, my cultural exchange, it was amazing because that was the first time I was physically working with Pakistani architects and architects from Bangladesh, architects from UK, Pakistan. We all got together, and a British Council, they were there, BRAC University, Heritage Foundation. It was a cross connection between all culture, and I learned so much about not only architecture but also the culture, the impact we give in the society. And I learned a lot from architect Yasmin Lari. She taught me that architecture should be for the community. It should represent your community, your culture, your roots. So yeah, it was an amazing experience for me.
That's wonderful. So do you want to specifically talk about a project or a research activity that you're currently pursuing, or maybe have pursued before, that had outputs that directly affected the, common well-being and was towards sustainability?
Yeah, I can mention my recent research, what I'm doing. Basically, it was my dissertation topic. So when I was talking about my topic to my supervisor, they were pretty shocked because in Western culture, in UK, US, we have that term community center. But in Bangladesh, when we talk about community center, community platform is just on pen and paper, but there is nothing physical there. So when I talk about that with my supervisor, they were like, community center, they should have community center. But if we talk about Bangladesh, we don't have community center. So that research, actually, the way I was saying that my view was that the Coral and Gulshan. So I was questioning myself, why this diversity and why it's happening. And after questioning myself 1,000 times, I started questioning myself, what can I do for this? What can I do as an architect to change it? So now recently I'm working towards it. I'm trying to find out the problems, why it's happening, what can we do from our side to make it a better solution not to fix for a few years as a permanent solution. So my piece got published with Glass House few weeks ago. It was a small piece of my research. Still, it's an ongoing process because this is a very big research. So I hope I'm gonna land into that question and answers in future.
All right, that sounds great. So recently there has been some threats to the idea of cultural exchange and the dialogue, across cultures, because one way that this exchange in cultures occurs is through the academic route. So one thing that we are witnessing now is the fund cuts that's happening probably in the USA and some other countries. They are cutting the funds for the universities, for research, and for some nonprofits. For instance, USAID, that was very much active in Bangladesh in the field of healthcare. How do you think such threats could affect the cultural exchange that has shaped our world today? And what other threats have you witnessed or experienced that you could talk about?
A very good question. As you mentioned, funds are cutting down, and it's not only in academics area, it's also happening in real time. As you can see, we used to get a lot of funds from US towards our Rohingya projects, Rohingya camp, and the funds are cutting down. And this is a global politics. It's it's happening, and we cannot do anything about it. We cannot say that. We can do. Maybe we should talk about it more as an individual. How can you do it? How can you improve your knowledge or gain more knowledge or talk about it in a daily basis? So I think cultural exchange is very important, not only in academics, but also in professional life. Like, as you can see, like here, we three are here. She's from Germany and US. I'm from Bangladesh and UK. So we are talking about it. So this is a awareness. We are talking about it. And if we keep talking about these topics, one day it's gonna change. So let's be positive, and yeah, I think it will happen if we keep talking about it.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's precisely accurate. So could you provide a contrast from a cultural point of view between United Kingdom and Bangladesh and any other country that you've been or you have had an experience with? A contrast in terms of the culture, because in the UK there are people from various backgrounds, but in Bangladesh it might be different. So how could that affect the workplace, the educational environment, and the society in general?
Very good question. If I talk about contracts, I will go back to my early days when I started in 2018 in Cox's Bazar. That was the same land, but I didn't know their language. But still, we tried to talk with our hand gesture, sketch, drawings. We tried to communicate. And here, uh, if I still talk about that, cultural exchange, the contrast is very important to explore yourself, getting exposure to different knowledge, different cultural backgrounds, different countries, what's going on in their country, what's going on in my country. So in academics, it helped me a lot. Yeah, from the starting, I was trying to, how can I put it? I was trying to come up with new solution because the climate was different, the environment was different, the architectural style are different. So how can I put my understanding and come up with new solutions? But as I was doing research and trying to learn more about their culture, cultural exchange, it helped me a lot to understand. So, in an architectural perspective, I would say it's very nice to get ideas from different background and different cultural um, people so that you can input that in your design in the future generation, for the future generation.
Yes, of course. So, do you want to speak about some cultural misconceptions that you've witnessed firsthand, or maybe maybe in the UK or Bangladesh, some misconceptions that other people could have, like people outside the community you're living, some misconceptions like within the community, or something that you've experienced, some misconceptions from your classmates, your colleagues, your employers. So let us know.
I would say, like, not in architectural or in a global term, just in a funny ways. They think we, as a Bangladeshi, we all tend eat fish and rice, but that's not true. So these kind of small things, but in a very big uh, aspects, I don't think it was a very difficult thing, because people are nowadays, everyone is very open-minded. They love to welcome you, they love to know about your cultural background. I love to know about my friends cultural background. I'm very interested to know about new places, new history, learn about their new dish, their clothing, their architecture, their environment. So yeah, we all are very open towards learning.
So that's correct. Stereotypes exist everywhere, and people tend to have that, paintings in their minds about different countries, about different cultures, different ethnicities. These stereotypes could exist between different tribes in the country, within the same city, or among different continents and countries. So, have you experienced or witnessed discrimination or maybe racism? Because we know this is a problem that is still marring or disturbing our society and could be a big threat to us. Have you ever experienced or felt it? And what do you think could be incorporated into the cultures, into the international culture, to fight against discrimination and maybe racism?
Racism is everywhere. You go, you face it every day. But my thing is, you have to be confident about yourself. You think someone is telling you something and that's racism, but you have to, like, I can give you a small example. Like, here, the job market is very tight, and people say they do not give opportunities to international students. But that's not true. That's not true. Or some people will say they give more opportunities to international students. That's not true either. So different people, different perspective. I would say that opportunities are here if you cut down the negative thoughts which are here already. So it could be a barrier in your future vision. So I would say go for the positive sides, stay confident, and try to learn more, explore yourself more, so that you do not have to face racism. If you are educated enough, if you are knowledgeable enough, maybe no one will say that you don't belong here. You can say, I belong here.
That's correct. So you haven't felt anything like any, discrimination in the job market?
Job market, I think these are the visa requirements, which are and obstacle for any international students or student who are from uh, different backgrounds or different cultures, because it takes time for international students to mix up and to learn about these culture or these systems. It's not only about racism, discrimination. It's also more about, suppose if I give you an example, in Bangladesh there are so many softwares, so many stuff we don't know. They don't teach us in our universities because they do not have the privilege, the access to those high profile softwares, those educational level, because we are still trying to educate people on the basic needs, right? But if you come here, they already have their basic needs. So they are getting experience in new softwares, new systems. So it takes time to adjust. So you have to be more open and you have to learn the new softwares, the new system, the new protocol, the new policies, which is very important. So that's how you can get any opportunity, I believe. Staying positive.
That's wonderful. Yeah, staying positive goes a long way, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are. So, do you have any word of wisdom, any advice for the youngsters, maybe the youths, the teenagers, high school students, who are planning for their career? What advice do you have for them so that they could meld easier into different cultures once they take this step from school to university? Because, that's a bigger society, or they are moving between different cities, different states or provinces, different countries, maybe. So what advice do you have for them to be able to climb this ladder of differences between cultures and to be more homogeneous when they are in a new environment? Because in it, differences exist between different people in their appearances, the languages they speak, their habits, their cultures. But one thing we have to be homogeneous is our love for our sympathy and our empathy among the entire humanity and mankind. So what advice or word of wisdom do you have for the youngsters?
Intention, dedication, and hard work, I would say, because if you have a good intention, um, you will get it. If you work hard, you will get it. And your dedication, you need discipline and dedication. I came from a very small city. I grew up in a very small city, and I'm here. I won't say that that journey was easy. I just got it. I was lucky. Yeah, maybe I'm lucky, but maybe there are people who are trying really hard to get this opportunity, but maybe I'm lucky. But if you're not disciplined, if you are not dedicated towards your goals, and if your intention is not right, then you won't get it. So make sure from the very beginning you have a good intention to good do for the people, for the next generation, for the humanity. Just people are not human anymore. So I think it's our calling for humanity. It's our calling that we should do for people, as this is our nature. We should stop thinking about money and we should start thinking about humanity first. So that's how we can just climb the ladder very easily.
So in our discussion today about dialogue across cultures, I think it wouldn't be right to ask about Birgit's opinion. So Birgit has experienced the Cold War, the Iron Curtain by the Soviet Union around the East Bloc, and the Western countries. So that could be a very big threat to cultural exchange, because when like a part of the world is segregated, there could be many, problems that could arise. There could be some minute benefits too, but I think the, issues, the problems could outweigh the benefits. So could you give us your opinion too, Birgit, about this and maybe other potential threats to cultural exchange?
Threats to cultural exchange, I resonate very much with what Sohana says. I love your personal journey and how it shaped your interest in creating architecture with a mission. Let me just recap a little bit on that, Tahsin. I absolutely love that. I know that, I live in New York and I lived in a neighborhood where every single person came from a different country. And we learn, and not only on a personal level, but also in your architecture, we learn from other cultures. So there is a lot of hatred and division in the world, right? The same like when I grew up, and we had East Germany and the communists next doors and everything. But so there was not much exchange. Yes, we crossed into East Berlin, and we had all these, on the border, these scary kind of not knowing whether we get out or pull at the side. But I'm like Sohana, I prefer to focus on what we can do and not what the threat is, because we know the threats, right? At the end of the day, yes, we have threats everywhere, And the biggest threat is division. It doesn't matter whether you take East Germany, whether you take communism versus capitalism, where, you take, any conflict in this world, any Pakistan versus, it doesn't matter what you take. I prefer to focus on on creating an environment of what you do with architecture and how you live your life. I prefer on focusing of what we can do to move this in a positive direction. And like Sohana said, look at us, right? You, Tahsin, sitting in Tehran, I'm sitting in New York, Sohana sitting in the UK, you're currently, or in Bangladesh, either way, both backgrounds. And so I think the biggest threat, if I think about, and I'm thinking about the environment I used to live in downtown Manhattan, and because we didn't have it there. I have friends from Gabon, from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, you name the country, and I tell you, I have an acquaintance of friends from there, Peru, any Ghana, it doesn't matter. I think that taught me, if, as you said, Sohana, if we are open, we have to be open-minded. I think the biggest threat to division is being closed-minded. We all carry our baggage from our culture. We all grew up in a certain environment. And I think we have to be open to listen to others. And we also have to, and others have to be open to us, because again, we all grew up in a certain environment where we got baggage, where we might have certain concept about the other. And we have to be able to be open enough. So also not only to the outside, but also to ourselves, to admit if we are stepping into some misconception. And we all do. And I think again, I think this is the biggest threat, the concept of the other we create, that we perceive the other as a threat. That's a threat. And I think if we grow like we do, like the three of us here, or like with the more we grow on this level, that's how we are going to change, And again, I only speak with sitting here in New York and from my former neighborhood, from our friends. They all come from different places. And you know what, Sohana, since Tahsin asked you about if you experience this or that, we joke about this. And I love, you're probably in an environment like that too in the UK. So we come from all over. So I have friends from Japan or whatever. We laugh at each other's stereotypes. So, so people they're not afraid to say, oh, aren't Germans like this or that? And I'm not incited, I don't take it personally. I say, okay, yeah, here you're right, here you're not right. But we can, or Japanese, I have friends from Japan who tell me, they even laugh about their own stereotypes. And I think that's the other thing, actually, to be able to laugh about yourself, and appreciate, not only appreciate other cultures and be open, but be able to laugh about whatever others think without constantly immediately becoming defensive and feel attacked or something. And I think, so in that sense, it's not only openness, it's also the question of an emotional, like Sohana said, you have to be confident in yourself, you have to believe in who you are, and don't take everything personal, because, we make mistakes, and I think we have to, the only thing we can do is correct those who come with whatever idea. And there is discrimination, there is racism, and it's hard to, it's very hard to eliminate it all, but we can only try our best again in being open. I mean, that's at least my concept of being open. And so on, I'm saying this because I have lived in 7 different countries. I'm like you, I'm a traveler, I'm going all over. And, or used to be, not anymore. Now I'm for 23 years in New York. It took me probably 10 years to get used to the fact of being stuck here in a positive sense. But I think it's, now I lost my thread too, but I think it's important. I don't know, Sohana, you live like I used to live. And I think that's the only way of bringing people together. And Tahsin, it's very interesting. You know what's interesting? The other day I had a panel with someone from the West Bank. And I was so positive, I'm saying this, Sohana, because we have family in Israel. And I was so positively surprised. And I think that's what we have, so that that's what we have to do too. And that's what we have to learn from a person like that as well. He was focused on what can I do to change to the better, and not always focus on what's not working, what is the threat, what is the division, but how can I change it? I think that's the most important. And now I've taken enough time here. I love to pass this on to Sohana and you again, because obviously I have a lot to say, and again, I can absolutely relate with this. I mean, but thank you so much, Tahsin, for bringing me in here.
Yeah, absolutely. We always love to hear from you, Birgit.
Oh, I love to hear
So
from you too.
that is true. Like, culture always has a positive connotation. So we think about culture, the differences, like nice differences in different continents, different countries. But there are some negative aspects with culture too. The yokes, the
But in any
shackles
culture.
that might put around us, the misconceptions, the prejudice that we could get from our parents, from the society, from our friends, from our siblings, from our grandparents. So the important thing is, as we grow further, as the humanity collective, the collective humanity, as we grow and as we get older, we have to learn to put these down and become more homogeneous and be more accepting. And I think that's the core of the dialogue and the exchange between different cultures that is very much necessary in today's world.
I agree. Thank you. Thank you, Sohana. Sohana, you like to add to that?
No, I completely agree with you both. Yeah. And I'm really happy that I joined that conference with you guys. I learned a lot.
I would love to hear more about the architecture, because this is so interesting. Again, I originally by profession, I'm an art historian. So obviously, there's another inclination into this, and I would love to, and just the examples you mentioned with combining different culture and putting this into the architecture and creating a space, like creating social architecture or architecture with a mission is so interesting. And I wish we could have seen some examples here of what has been built. But perhaps you would like to give us your email and some information, or email information you would like to share, or where people can look the work up from the, from whatever you mentioned here.
Yeah, so my LinkedIn profile is Sohana Khan. You can get me there. Also, my email is sohanakhan789@gmail.com. So you can connect with me there as well. And yeah, I want to say that when I was in Dhaka, I was practicing in commercial projects as well. I was doing interior. I was trying to explore more aspects of architecture, but somehow my heart always called for humanitarian architecture, like community architecture. This is what we call. So that's how I heard the calling, and I'm like, okay, go for it. So I'm working towards it. I hope people will join and people will experience this, because in architecture profession, people assume that we have a misconception that there is a lot of money. Yes, there is a lot of money in commercial projects, but the NGO projects, the humanitarian projects, the community projects, these are mostly for your soul, not for money. So we do it for the humanitarian calling, not just for money. So this is why I think we should focus more on these projects rather than building a high profile, tall buildings.
So we have to come to our closing, and I know you mentioned already a call to action, but I still like to invite you back to read. I mean, Tahsin, obviously you are the one who is, if you would like to, you can close here, but you can. So if there's something specific, especially you would like the audience, to what to take away from this interview, is there something from this dialogue, from this space, and obviously Tahsin, that applies to you as well. And in this context, just before I go there, before you say something, and I will add my sentence too. We are promoting the hashtag urgency for action. That's the urgency, the number 4, and then action. And so, please share it widely. And so I would love to hear now briefly your call to action again, or you would like our audience to take away from this conversation. Sohana, would you like to go first?
Oh, me?
Yeah, go on, Sohana, please. Yeah.
So I would say urgent call for action for the young generation. that start creating, exploring, and look at your surrounding. Look at your surrounding. I think it's the high time to get rid of your phone and start exploring the real world. I think we use our phone as a cover to hide or to just minimize. I think it's better to jump into the real world and learn about what's going on in the society, what's going on in our world, in the politics, in the architecture, in the medicine, in every aspects. Like start doing it for yourself, for the community, for the future generation. So for example, if you just think, oh, my anything won't change if I do anything, my voice won't do anything, but try to be the voice for the voiceless. So that's how you can make a change.
That's beautifully said. Tahsin, would you like to add?
Thanks, Sohana. So regarding my call to action is I'm inviting everyone to contribute in the best possible way, because we as human beings are used to partitioning and segregating and putting borders between everything. Similarly, in our 11 days of global unity, we have divided it into 11 themes, but it does not mean that contributing towards unity or maybe health is mutually exclusive to the other themes. No matter what you're doing, no matter how you're contributing, the important thing is to do your best, no matter you're a student, a policymaker, an employer, an entrepreneur, or maybe a founder of a big organization. The core of the core is to do your best and contribute in any possible way that you know. And Birgit, do you want to share anything regarding?
Thank you, Tahsin. That's very difficult to add on to this now. But when Sohana was telling me a bit about, or when she was telling us about her personal story, I was thinking about one of Mark Twain's quotes from The Innocents Abroad. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And it says that travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's lifetime. And I was thinking, and that's not a quote, but an add-on, because not everyone has the privilege to travel or live abroad, that we can all take a step back to open a dialogue to someone who's different, who lives in our culture, right? Or who's different from our background or our perspective. And, invite people to single conversations, to extend the horizon on every possible level. And everything else, I can only echo the two of you. It was absolutely wonderful to have you here, Sohana. It was great hearing your story and your vision, your openness and your depth, and also about your architecture. And Tahsin, thank you so much for guiding this wonderful conversation here as a host.
So okay, thank you, Birgit, and thank you, Sohana, too, and thank you, everyone. Finally, I want to invite everyone to switch from a me society, to a we society. Okay.
We is this and me is this.
Yeah. Okay. From me society
this is the we. This is the we.
From a me society to a we society.
To we society, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much,
that's
Tahsin.
what we're working for. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. And just let me, before we just finish here, I want to mention the We Power campaign. It's the power of we, millions of people of us coming together to transform our society, to prioritize the common good. I think we all are, on the same, in the same group, and we all live for this. So to help us launch the We Power campaign, please go to we.net/We Power campaign. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.